Alright, note number 5, adding and subtracting polynomials. Now, in order to add and subtract polynomials, we must first review what it means to have like terms. Like terms are terms that contain the same variable with corresponding variables having the same power. So now this first example shows our three terms. We have 2x squared, 6x, and 5. They don't have the same power, so we have x squared and x. They're not the same. The next one, we have 3a squared, 5a squared, and 2a. So 3a squared and 5a squared are like terms since they both have a squares. But 2a is not a like term. 15x and 18x like terms since they both just have x. And then when we look at the last one, 4a squared and negative 2a squared like terms since they both have a squared. And then 6x is not a like term. So to simplify these, we have to combine our like terms. Well, the first one, 2x plus 9x, they both have x's, so we can simply add 2 plus 9, which gives 11x. Number 2, we have 4b plus 5b. Well, they both have b's, so we can add them together. 4 plus 5 give us 9b. Now, once we get to number 3, we can only add like terms. So our like terms, we have 5n squared plus 7n squared. So if I look at 5n squared plus 7n squared, that's going to give me 12n squared. Plus, I still have that 3n. So my answer is going to be 12n squared plus 3n. Number 4, we have our like terms. They both have a, so it's a squared and a squared. Well, 3, now we have minus 14. Well, 3 minus 14 is negative 11a squared. Now, if you notice, this stayed as x, this stayed as b, these stayed as n squared, and this was an n, and these stayed as a squared. When we add or subtract our like terms, we don't change the powers. So we don't make this a to the 4th or a to the 0. We don't change them. When we get to number 5 here, well, we have 6x squared. Well, I have nothing to combine with that, so I just simply have 6x squared. Then I have 14x minus 9. Well, 14x minus 9 will give us 5x. So I have 6x squared plus 5x. Now, x squared and x, they're not the same, so we can't combine them. Number 6, I have my y to the third, so 4y to the third plus 3y to the third are the same. That's going to give me 7y to the third, and then I have plus 4y left over, or plus y to the fourth. And now I can write this in standard form. Now remember, standard form is the highest exponent to the least, so I might just want to rewrite this and say it's going to be y to the fourth plus 7y to the third. Once we get to 7, what we got to do first here is distribute. So we're going to distribute this 6 to everything. So that's going to give me 30a plus 18b minus 12. We could have simplified first, but we're just used to distributing first. And now 18b minus the 12b is going to give me 6b. So we're going to get 30a minus 6b. And then with the last one, this time we could distribute more. If you notice inside the parentheses, if we do the parentheses first, we know that we have 4n minus 3n, and 4n minus 3n will give us 1n. So we would have 5 times 6m plus 1n, and now we can distribute, which will give us 30m plus 5n. And m's and n's are not the same, so we cannot put them, we cannot combine them. Now, we have two ways to add polynomials. Adding polynomials, you group your like terms horizontally or write them in a column forming the aligning like terms. So the horizontal group, we put our x's together, or our x squareds together, x squareds. Then we put our x's. And then finally, we have our numbers. And then you simplify everything. Or vertically, we do align them. Here's our x squared, x, and our numbers. So we can use either method. I'm going to use the horizontal method. So when we do this, we're adding. So I want to put my x squared together. So I have 5x squared plus 2x squared plus I have my x's, which is 3x plus negative 4x. Then we have the numbers, so plus negative 4 plus 1. Now we can simplify 5x squared plus 2x squared, 7x squared, 3x plus negative 4x, negative 1x, negative 4 plus 1, negative 3. So number 2, I'm going to put my like terms together. So I have my x squared, so I have 2x squared plus 3x squared. Now I have a number here, but I have my x right here. So I'm just going to write my x. So I'm going to have my x squared, then my x's, and then finally I'm going to have my numbers. So I'm going to have 5 plus 6. Then we simplify everything. 2x squared plus 3x squared, 5x squared. Just gives us negative 2x, and 5 plus 6 is 11. We put our x squared together, our x's, and then our numbers. When we look at number 3, well, I have an x squared, so I'm just going to start with my x squared. And then I'm going to look at my x's. So I have x plus 5x. And then finally, I just have one number over there, which is plus my negative 2. So I have nothing to add with my x squared, so I'm just going to bring that down. My x, well, this is 1x plus 5x, give us 6x, and then we get minus 2. Now with number 4, once again, we're going to put our x's together, put our x squared together, and put our numbers together. When we look at our x squareds, so we're going to put our x squareds together. So we have 3x squared plus 1x squared. Then we have to put our x's together, which is 4x. And then we have a plus a negative 5x. And then our numbers, we have a 2 plus a negative 5. Now we just simplify them all. 3x squared plus 1x squared is going to give us 4x squared. 4x plus negative 5x will give us negative 1x. And 2 plus negative 5 will give us negative 3. And I wrote 4x squared plus negative 1x. You could write 4x squared minus 1x minus 3. They mean the same thing. But what we have to get out is we're putting our x squared together, the x together, and the numbers together. When we look at the next one, subtracting polynomials, to subtract polynomials, we have to distribute the negative to the second term. So that's the very first thing we have to do. If you forget to do that step, you have a tendency to get it wrong, because when you distribute this negative, it goes to the 7n, but it also goes to the 4n to the third. So what you have to write down is it's going to be negative 7n, and then it's minus 4n to the third. So that's what happens when we distribute. So if you forget to distribute it, usually you just do it to the first term, forget the second term, which is going to cause you to have an error. So just like you have two methods, the horizontal method or the vertical method. Horizontal, we do it the same way. We group them, and then we simplify them. Vertical method, we write them with the exponents together. So if we look at some of these examples, so what we have to do first is distribute this negative to everything. So it's going to give me negative 2x squared minus 3x. And now I'm going to change that negative to a positive. So now I group my like terms. So I group my x squared. So negative x squared minus 2x squared minus, because it says minus right there. I have 7x and minus 3x. So negative x squared minus 2x squared is going to give us negative 3x squared. And then 7x minus 3x is a positive 4x. So number 2, the first step we have to do, distribute this negative to everything. So I'm going to make it a plus, and I have negative 6x squared minus x plus 3. Now we group everything. Well, I have 8x, but I have an x squared, so I'm going to start with my x squared, negative 6x squared. Group my x's. I have 8x plus negative x. Group my numbers, which is 3 plus 4. And we get negative 6x squared. 8x plus negative x is 7x. 4 plus 3 is 7. then the last one, number 3 over here, distribute this negative. So I have negative 2x minus 3. So I group my x squared, so I just have 2x squared. I group my x's, so I have negative 3x and a negative 2x. And then we group our numbers. I have 1 plus negative 3. So when I go look at this, I just have a 2x squared. We add our x's, well, negative 3 plus negative 2 is negative 5. So it's minus 5x. 1 plus negative 3 is negative 4. Move on. Once again, we distribute the negative to everything. This is negative 3y minus 6x minus 8xy. So now we group things that are alike. Well, this is just a 4x. So I have to group x's with x's. So I have 4x, and then I have negative 6x. This is xy. I group xy's with xy's. So it's 5xy, negative 8xy. And then I have 3y and negative 3y. So it's 3y minus 3y. So I put my x's together, I put the xy's together, and I put the y's together. So 4x minus 2x, or minus 6x, will give us negative 2x. 5xy minus 8xy, negative 3xy, and then 3y minus 3y cancels out. So we're left with negative 2x minus 3xy. We can't put these together because this is x and this is xy. They're not the same. And then the last one, gotta distribute first. So I get negative 2x squared plus 9x minus 4. So now I put all my like terms together. Well, I notice I have an x to the third, so I just start with that, x to the third. Now x squared, so I have 4x squared and negative 2x squared. I have a negative 7x and a positive 9x. And then we have a negative 2 and a negative 3. So we just simplify these like terms. So we have x to the third, 4x squared minus 2x squared. 4 minus 2 will give us 2, so it's 2x squared. Negative 7x and 9x. Negative 7 plus 9 is 2x. And then negative 2 minus 4, negative 6. And that's adding and subtracting the polynomials. We have to remember to group our like terms. They have to look identical. So x's with x's, xy's and xy's, x squared and x squareds. Right? We do those steps, we distribute that negative. These are very simple to do.